So here we are in the book of Dionysus. I'm not sure exactly how to say it, but I'm going to say the Dionysiaca. Close enough, right? Okay, and so this book is coming out of Greece. The theme and the myth of Dionysus is from before the flood and after the flood. Covers two different characters, which we'll get into in this study. He is the son of Zeus. This book is completely about him. We're going to start in book 6, because that's where my fascination lies right now, being it's, as you'll see right here, book 6 says the great deluge and the birth and death of Zagreus. Zagreus being the character we're following is another name for Dionysus. You'll notice in this series that Dionysus has many names. He's many named, just like other entities that we know of that have many names. And so what's the point of this series? So in my study of the Bible, specifically Genesis 6:4, and 2 Peter, the story of the angels, and also in Jude, the story of the angels who fell. And the book of Enoch says there's 200, so I'm looking for those 200. I know one I was just out in the west is Coco Pelli, the guy with the flute hunched back with the protrusions coming out of his back. He was one of them. He's named Book of Enoch chapter 6. Look for that in sacred texts. So one of my big hobbies is chasing down and seeing who are the Nephilim. Where are their stories? And they're all over. I mean, everyone's mythology is based on it. You got Thor, India, the Vikings, Indo-Aryan religions. Right amongst that is here's the Greek religion, the Hittites, the Middle East, Asia Minor. And they all point to that story of there being angels that came down and had children, right? And so I'm past that part of whether that's true or not, because everything points to it being true. So in other videos we'll talk about defying the Nephilim and things of that nature. So from here is a story from my point of view about this relating to the Nephilim and the like hidden things, secret things involved in here. Okay, and so let's get started. So one of my big questions is, who is Zeus, and when was he moving around amongst humans? And it seems based on the stories that he was before the flood, and based on the stories he was in Greek mythology, son of Kronos, who is most likely an angel, possibly a firstborn Nephilim, son of an angel. So he's either the son or a grandson of a fallen angel, right? And Zeus is before the flood, and we know that Kronos is defeated before the flood, but the Greek myths seem to show that Zeus survived the flood and continued having these children after the flood. And one of the main tie-ins that we're going to see with the Bible is that Zeus has this child named Dionysus before the flood of Zagreus, and in a divine way basically has the same child, same type of child, at least the same bloodline of child after the flood. That's Dionysus / Bacchus, the god of wine, the god of the vine, the god of the ritual dance, other things of that nature. And what ties that in with the Bible is one of the main problems for the Israelites that God talks about in the first 5 books, is the Israelites worshiping these goat demons. And specifically in Leviticus 16, a deity named Azazel is mentioned, and all the sins of Israel are blamed on him. We know that Jesus took our sin away, but the blame in ritual in Israel rests upon Azazel, and Azazel was a goat demon god, and I believe that that's either Dionysus or a form of Zeus. For Zeus is most at least a cherubim, and possibly a cherubim and seraphim. Cherubim is a 4-faced angel found in Ezekiel 1, Ezekiel 10. Seraphim is found in Isaiah 6. I believe that Satan, being the highest level angel, is a shapeshifter. And the form that he takes, and this book will show it, the form that he takes when he mates with a woman, it has to deal with what the child comes out. So we look at all the ancient mythology, India, all those many different gods of animal forms and human forms and angelic forms mixed together with high technology, flying craft. We can look at that throughout all the old mythologies, whether or not they were there. They were there in every culture. It depends on how that human society saw them and how they recorded it, how they looked at it as either magic, technology. But every society around the time of the flood, all of our stories talk about this. The reason the Great Flood happened was because the gods came down and had children. Like in the Greek myth, it'd be Typhon that would fought against Zeus in the Titanomachy and the Gigantomachy, which is the great slaughter amongst the Titans and the angels' children and grandchildren sent by God in Enoch. All right, so there's a little backstory. That's why I'm interested in Zeus, focusing the Bible, because the Bible pointed me towards these goat demons, right? Leviticus 16 is the Day of Atonement, the highest holy day in the calendar, the Day of Atonement. And on that day, in Leviticus 16, the Old Testament, the goat god, Azazel, the upside-down pentagram god, is described there. And so we're chasing down this goat devil, right? And I have full authority to do so. I pray God for protection and guidance. Thank you, Lord. It's been good to me. Let's get to study. Okay. Not the Father alone felt desire, but all that dwelt in Olympus had the same, struck by one bolt and wooed for a union with Deo's divine daughter. Deo is Demeter. Deo, Zeus is Deus. This is a feminine form of Zeus, showing that she was one of Zeus's mates, as well as Hera, right? And so she had this divine daughter, Persephone, that was a daughter of Zeus, right? So here was wandering around Demeter, right? And she lost the brightness of her face, and her swelling heart was lashed by sorrows. She untied her frontlets from her head and shook loose the long locks of hair over her neck, trembling for her girl. The cheeks of the goddess were moistened with self-running tears. And her sorrow that so many wooers of Persephone, so those going after Persephone for her hand, her body, had been stung with one fiery shot. All these wooers have been stung by one shot by maddening Eros, who's basically Cupid. All contending together for their loves, from the bounteous mother shrank, but especially she feared Hephaestus to be her daughter's lame bedfellow. Hephaestus was Vulcan. He was like the god of the forge. He had a lame leg. The other gods thought he was ugly. All right, so here's where we get really interesting. She hastened with quick foot to the house of Astraios. So if you look up Astraios, and one thing I use is Theoi, Theoi, right? It works great for looking up things involved in the Greek myths. That's actually where we're reading this story from. So I'm going to go to Google, I'm going to copy-paste that name, right? And I'm going to type in Theoi, and I'm going to show you who this guy is, because it's highly important. So in the Bible, it says that the angels came down and they had sons, and those sons in the Greek myths named as a whole were Titans and giants, Gyges, Gyges. And here we have a Titan son, right? Son of Uranus, Uranos. Uranos is the circle of the snake that eats itself. Ouroboros is Greek word for heaven, right? So that's either the first angel or it's describing the place they came from. So if Kronos is actually an angel and it says he comes from Uranus, it's because Uranus symbolizes heaven. Kronos came down from it and mated with women. So I don't know which one was the first angel yet. But anyway, this Titan son was a son of Titan God. Titan God means he's basically a firstborn of an angel, but his father is Krios, right? His father's Krios. Krios, okay, was brother to Kronos, and Iapetus and Hyperion, which were four sons of Kronos. They also represented the four cardinal directions, which starts to tie them in with four angels, the four angels of the winds of the cardinal directions, these being on the negative side of the coin, the evil end of the side of the coin per se, being Nephilim. All right, so Krios is an elder Titan, son of Uranus, right? Brother to Kronos. And this guy Astraios, who Demeter is going to, is the god of astrology and the planets and the stars. And his dad, once again, and this will tie us back into the Bible. All right, in this myth, the four brothers probably represent the four cosmic pillars separating heaven and earth, which are described in Near Eastern cosmogonies. Krios was likely the southern pillar, while his brothers Krios, Iapetus, and Hyperion were the pillars of the north, east, and west. Krios' connection with the south is found both in his name and family connections. He is the ram, the constellation Aries, whose springtime, rising in the south, marked the start of the Greek year. His eldest son is Astraios, right? So this guy who's talking to Demeter now, his dad is an angel, or a firstborn son of an angel, first line, first generation, right? He is the ram. Okay, the interesting thing is that before the flood, the sign in the heavens, right, of the zodiac sign was the bull. The flood came and we transitioned into the ram. And remember, Abraham and Isaac, and the substitutionary sacrifice was the ram. In the age of Aries, the ram. And here on the other side, we have this high-level entity who is the ram, and it represents the constellation Aries, like Mars. Right, so here we have this tying in, and it ties into the Bible because it ties into God in a way, because God has the same pattern. You look at the cherubim; they have four faces. Right, they got a face of an eagle, the face of a man, a face of a which is Aquarius, the face of a scorpion, the face of a lion. All right, so those are the four cardinal or medial points in the constellation. Right. And then the top one was a seraphim, so he's a serpent. He's the fifth. He's the one that kind of dropped out. And I believe the serpent has a lot to do with Zeus. The Bible seems to call him Satan. So let's keep digging into that by going back to our story. Right? So here's Demeter running off to the house of Astraios, who is a son, or probably a grandson of an angel, the god of prophecy, right? This guy that knew all the stars in the constellation, his dad claimed to be a constellation, or the spirit behind it. Demeter's hair was flowing, shaking in the winds. Eosophoros, guess who that is? Okay, here we go right off the bat. Eosophoros is Lucifer, son of the morning. Hallel ben Shahar is the Hebrew word to say it. Hallel being the shining one, Ben, son of, and then Shahar, the dawn. Eosophoros is the light, right? And then we'll see as we do a little bit more study. Eos means dawn. His mother is dawn. And Astraios, Lucifer's mother, is the dawn. Just like in Isaiah 14, it says, O Lucifer, son of the morning. That's Ben Shahar, son of the dawn. Eos is his mother, and we're going to get to her. She's coming up. She's described quite a bit here. So the mother of Lucifer is dawn, just like it says in the Bible. Lucifer saw her and brought the news to his father. Old Astraios heard it and arose. He had covered the surface of the table with the dark dusk. All right, so God bless us. You can use anything for good or bad. So this is where we get into higher levels of knowledge that shouldn't be usually used and given to people who are in rebellion. Right, so this usually takes a long time to learn. So this is the initial astrology. This is basically the beginning of magic. The using of powers. At this point, they are using it. The angels haven't died. They haven't been punished. The Great War hasn't come. Okay, so it's in a different form than it is right now. Okay, but what it is astrology, and it's having faith in astrology and the angels and the stars and moons more than you have in God. And that's where the sin is that you choose to have faith in something over God. That's one of the main points of sin. All right. So old Astraios heard it. He covered the surface. Old Astraios, father of Lucifer here, covered the surface of a table with dark dusk. Here we go. Where he was describing and traced lines of circle with the tooth of his rounding tool. I'm going to tell you something interesting. If you're good at translating, get in there. In this book, right? Nonnus. Right? Get in there. And even online, you got the Greek, right? Now, with technology now, you can take a picture of that and have it translated. Look at the craziness. I could go into a deep study about that. Some of these words pop out, but let's get back. Both of these are exciting things. Let's get back where we're at. This guy has a blackboard, the dust, black dust. He's taking it, he's drawing a circle. Well, we're off to a weird start. I think I know where we're going. Within which he inscribed a square, and another figure with 3 equal sides and angles, equal out of a triangle. So a circle, square, a triangle. Interesting. So I was sitting there, and God had, given me thoughts there. It was helping me along, and I immediately thought of the last chapter of Genesis 1, where God describes the circle of the earth. The earth is a circle. On top of it's the firmament. It's rotating. If you're at the North Pole, the zodiac wheel goes around the horizon, the equator horizon, so you'd see the same stars 24/7. Okay, so that's our time mechanism. The circle represents the earth. The triangle represents astrology for the sun and the moon sign, and then a constellation sign to the east or the west or when you're born. Don't use this for dark power. Bad idea. This is just proving that it's true. Okay, and then the square would be things like elements, and then so that's where you get alchemy and witchcraft and things of that nature. So immediately when I saw this, I knew it was up, right? So it's obviously them teaching a false religion, and that's what God is upset with them for. So we go to that. Let's look that up. I found something crazy. Circle, square, triangle, philosopher's stone. Okay, so apparently some people search a lifetime for this, and God dropped this in my lap. Okay, make a circle, a quadrangle, a square, and a triangle, right? The stone of the wise, the philosopher's stone. Bam. That's what he's describing. The philosopher's stone. Alchemy isn't some, the depth of the search is finding out and taking power in witchcraft, and it's hidden and hard to find because you're not supposed to use witchcraft. You're supposed to work with God. This stuff is supposed to be more of like, oh wow, look, God's able to use the heavens to describe everything. I shouldn't go and try to hack into that and spend my life hacking into that instead of having a relationship with God, right? It's the difference between loving somebody and using somebody when it gets down to the nitty-gritty. Okay? So, here we are. So, the Philosopher's Stone, people spend their life searching for this. And it fell in my lap, thanks be to God. What it is astrology and the use of... This is pre-flood, so you got to figure that they're teaching humans, and this is at the very beginning, using angelic and spiritual powers and the powers and the spirits that are in the heavens, and then delving down that path, right? And that's sin. It leads you into much greater sin. So there we have the secret of alchemy. May God protect me. I'm pretty sure that secret's out mainly, but yeah, crazy that I found that. Very crazy. All right, it just keeps hitting. So we got the devil, Lucifer, the devil's boys. So that basically shows you that Lucifer in Isaiah 14, because he dies, that's showing a child, a mortal-born son of the dawn. So he's talking about the Nephilim. That entity was not Satan in his full. Okay. All right. So where were we? He left all this astrology, right, and rose and came to the door to meet Demeter. So he's doing his prophecy and meets Demeter. They hasten through the hall. Hesperos, which is like Lucifer, the morning star. This is the evening star. Still Venus, right? So Lucifer led Deo to a chair beside his father's seat. With equal affection the winds, which is the four winds of heaven, right? The sons of Astraios welcomed the goddess with refreshing cups. But Persephone was too worried. Deo was too worried about Persephone. All right. And so we move on. And let's get into how the Bible talks about this same entity. So Isaiah 14 is going to be our chapter. And here is how we're in the right spot. Remember we were talking about Iosophoros, the light of the dawn. We're talking about this entity that says, how you have fallen from heaven, O day star, son of the dawn. With that little C there. What's that C say? Or morning star, or shining one, or Lucifer. Okay, son of the dawn, son of Eos. Okay, and then how do we and why do we think that he is a higher level character? At least he's either a Nephilim or an angel, right? There's multiple things that point out that he's not a normal human in this chapter. If you haven't worked through this chapter much, I'll go into it quickly. Okay, the oppressor has ceased, how his fury has ended. And so this guy is known as the oppressor. It's a crazy thing to be known by. This is for son of the morning, Ben Shahar. Hallel. That means shining one. Son, Ben, son of Shahar. Shahar, the dawn, right? And in Greek it's Eos. Okay, so the oppressor has ceased, his fury has ended. The Lord broke the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers, right? Subdued the nations in rage, and now all the earth is at peace and rest. So with the demise of this character, the world comes into a stage of peace and rest. All right, and Sheol, the grave, is eager to meet this entity. It stirs up all the spirits of the dead to greet him. All the rulers of the earth, all the kings of the nations, they all rise from their throne to tell him, you too have become weak as we. You too have become like us. Your pomp has been brought down to the grave along with the music of your harps. Maggots are your bed and your worms your blanket. How horrible. Okay, and here's where we get into a little bit more. You have fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the dawn, cut down to the ground, the destroyer of nations, because he said in his heart he will ascend and raise his own throne above the stars of God. He will sit on the mount of assembly. He will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. He will sit on the mount of assembly in the far reaches of the north. In my study, I've come to believe that is the North Pole axis, Polaris, in which all other stars revolve around. Look up Polaris multi-image capture, right? You see the whole star spin on that single point. It always spins around that same single point. Indians call it like Mount Meru. That place seems to be in mythology the place of the gods. I believe that it is the place of the Lord, and that Satan thought he could somehow take it away. Insanity. And there's our tie-in right there. And we're going to wrap that section up right there, and go and recap what we've gone over, and then explain what the next episode, or next part of this chapter is. So for a recap, we got Zeus and Demeter, Deuce, Deo, and called in here wife or mate of Zeus. All right, we have them with Persephone. We have Demeter, who is Deo, running to go get prophecy from an astrologer, which in the Bible nowadays would be called witchcraft. Okay, and when she goes in there, this guy she gets her prophecy from is the father mythology to the biblical Lucifer. Okay, and Eos, going over again, that means dawn, just like we showed in Isaiah 14. One more time, that is dawn, son of the dawn. Phosphorus is the light of the dawn, right? And we went over those things dealing with astrology and witchcraft, and ended it on tying it into the Bible. So the next episode, we're going to get into more of like the family lines, things that I see that tie into the Bible, different stories that are going to come to pass. In my notes, we'll get talking about Dionysus even more. While doing the family research, I'd figured out Dionysus is his full name. D-I-O. Once you start getting into words, and especially with Zeus and stuff, it's easy. D-E-O, D-I-O means heaven, and Zeus, Deus, means from the heaven, right? And so Dionysus is Nissa, Zeus of Nysa. So it goes back to Dionysus being a son of Zeus and coming from a place named Nysa. And that opens up some interesting lines of study, and we'll go into that the next study. So please like and share, subscribe. I'm going to try to get into deeper things like this here, apologetics, deep apologetics within mythology. So I'm reading through this whole book, so y'all don't have to, pulling out the parts that are easily tieable to the Bible. And I got some things like the Greek name in here for Satan, tying exactly in with Drakon, the word for Satan and the dragon used in Revelation 12, his seat being in Pergamon, right? And that was the seat of Zeus, was in Pergamon, which is in Bible Revelation 2, I'm pretty sure, or 3, but most likely 2. It says, I know where Satan's throne is, and that's in the city of Pergamon. Right? So, keep on studying. Thank you for watching. God bless you. God bless this work, and thank you.